You sit in a hard-backed chair bolted to the floor, metal scraping faintly against concrete, the room smelling of stale coffee and industrial cleaner, while a fluorescent light hums above you, constant and indifferent, and you realize your name isn't yours anymore. It was removed somewhere between selection and training, replaced with something easier to discard, because at the beginning, you were nothing more than a file, a candidate measured not by belief, but by what you could suppress. And at Quantico, your days began at 0500 in cold air and repetition, where you learned to speak without revealing, to listen without reacting, to lie without hesitation, repeating your cover story hundreds of times until it felt automatic, adjusting to sudden changes or being quietly removed. And now you sit across from a man on a federal watch list, his file thick with patterns but not proof, a wire pressed against your ribs with 92 minutes of battery left, while agents sit 47 meters away in silence, and you maintain eye contact with controlled breathing, measuring every pause because every word is either evidence or exposure, remembering how the first months were slow, procedural, building trust over 11 weeks of repeated meetings until you were allowed inside the edges of the network, handling small tasks that required you to mirror behavior, language, tone, gradually absorbing the role until advancement demanded compromise. Subtle at first, then routine, because the system never explains itself. It only removes those who misread it. People who asked too much or hesitated simply stopped appearing, so you adapted, speaking less, agreeing when necessary, practicing creative compliance, tracking names, dates, and details entirely in your head, while sleep dropped to barely 4 hours, and your real life faded into missed calls and unanswered questions. Until one day across the same cold table, he asks something you didn't prepare for. A small inconsistency that forces a 2.5-second pause where you regulate your breathing and reconstruct your cover before answering just enough to pass. But doubt doesn't disappear. It accumulates, and by the second year, you are trusted enough to hear more than you should, involved enough to justify proximity, telling yourself access requires participation as the line between role and self erodes, until you no longer notice the difference, responding automatically to a name that isn't yours, losing track of the last time you spoke as yourself, realizing not suddenly but quietly that the system didn't break you. It replaced you, and when the operation ends, it does so without ceremony. Just instructions to withdraw and disappear. Reports filed, evidence processed, the case continuing without you as you return to a life that feels unstructured and unfamiliar, your real name sounding distant, conversations unscripted, your habits intact as you measure eye contact and filter speech even in silence, unable to fully turn it off, only manage